Hey, what's going on, sports fans? How you doing? Hopefully, you're enjoying this lead up to Christmas. Depending on where you are in the country, hopefully you're staying warm. You know that there's a lot of areas that are feeling the cold weather right now, and just enjoy it, chill, relax, enjoy your family, friends, spread love, and all that good stuff. So, as you can see, I got another tier list maker over here. I have a lot of fun doing these. Hopefully, you guys enjoy them as well. So what we're gonna do, you can see the categories here. Super Bowl or bust, playoff team, fringe playoff team, maybe next year, need some help. Basically just gonna sort these NFL teams as I see fit to kind of let you know where my thinking is with these teams for the rest of the season and a little bit thinking ahead, maybe next year, a couple of years from now, see where these teams are positioned right now. So as I start sorting them, of course, by the end of the episode, you can let me know if there's a team I may have put in the wrong category, and you can let me know where you put them. I'm assuming you'll probably be talking about your favorite team, so you can let me know that as well in the comment section. If I showed respect to your team, disrespected them, or rated them correctly. I'm not gonna jump around with this one. We'll just start here and work our way down to here. So the Jaguars are first. I'm putting them fringe playoff team. I've been a believer in them all season, even when they went through that little slide in the middle of the season. But I know that the Titans aren't an overly dynamic team, so I feel like the Jaguars have enough talent to win that division. But they definitely need to make more strides to, I guess, avoid the slide that they had in the middle of the season. And if they could do that, probably bring in another couple pieces, I would definitely put them up here. But for right now, they're a fringe team. So are the Dolphins. The Dolphins have some questions in terms of, I guess, Tua and how good Tua is and will be as we get later into the season here. He played pretty well against the Bills. Obviously they lost that game, but I thought he had a good showing for all the talk about warm weather teams going to cold weather cities late in the season. I thought the Dolphins as a whole played well. They have another one a couple of weeks against the Patriots up in New England, up in Gillette Stadium. So we'll have to see what that looks like. But I mean, the Dolphins, if they're not careful, could slide out of the playoffs very easily. And because of that, I wouldn't really count them with the big boys in the AFC. So I'll put them as a fringe team right now. Lions are the same thing. They have come on strong of late. I mean, some may question in terms of the quality of their opponents, but I mean, you play your schedule. The Lions did finish with last in that division last season, so you could just say that they're just taking advantage of that. But I mean, I like what Dan Campbell's doing there. Jared Goff in that offense, they can put up some points. As we've seen at times this season, they can also give up a lot. So I do wonder with Aaron Rodgers and like the Packers as Aaron Rodgers gets older, and a lot of questions there in terms of how long Rodgers will play. It's not out of the realm possibility to think that the Lions could be in a position to consistently contend in that division. I do think that there's still some areas that they will need to fix. Aiden Hutchinson on defense is pretty good, but in order for me to move them up here, we'll have to see where this goes. For right now, fringe playoff team. I'm gonna combine these two as they're in the same division. Put them here for this very same reason. Questions at the quarterback position. You could also say maybe some questions in terms of the offensive weapons with wide receiver and tight end questions. Uh, I mean, with the Saints, was it Dennis Allen's their coach? I mean, I don't think he's not that he's a bad coach, but I don't know if he's the right guy who will get them over the hump. So would not be surprised if a coaching change was in the works there at some point. Even with the Falcons, Arthur Smith, I think the jury's still out on him, but I just think they have several issues to fix before even getting up to here because I'm not really optimistic about these two teams for next year. So if I'm not optimistic about that, then I'm definitely not putting them in one of these categories. So need help. Chiefs, I mean, what needs to be said? You have Mahomes, who could win the MVP this year. Andy Reid, great offensive mind. I mean, I wonder how much longer Andy Reid will go, but there was a lot of questions about them coming in, losing Tyreek Hill, and they haven't really lost a step at all. So, they're definitely one of the favorites in the AFC. So, it makes no sense not to put them there. This one might surprise you. Maybe next year. I know what you're thinking. They're what was it, like 113-1 or 112-1 or something like that. Yeah, I think they're 112-1. But I don't know. Like they're not a bad team to watch. It's just that they're another team with quarterback issues. But I think what Lovie Smith has done there this season, even with one win, sounds crazy. I think he should stay there because I do think they have pieces to work with. And they're another team that if they could just figure out their quarterback position, I think they'd become a much better team. Now, I don't know how many wins that equates to. Like if you put Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or whoever on that team, do they go from one win to 4 or 5? Maybe. And then I guess after that, do they get up to maybe 8? I don't know. But I feel like there's something intriguing in Houston. Where even this season, I don't know if they're as bad as their record shows. Like I said, just a lot of questions at quarterback. The Bears, I'm gonna put them here as well. And this one is gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see with the Bears because I know that there's kind of some people around the team who have like thrown out there getting a new quarterback. I think Justin Fields is the right guy in Chicago, but I want to see what they do in the offseason in terms of getting wide receivers, getting a tight end. I think they could use offensive line help. They lost some pieces on that defense and Rokon Smith, with Robert Quinn. Think they could use some defensive help, but I do think Justin Fields' athletic ability can cover up some of the gaping holes that they have. And I think the Bears could be a little better next year. Once again, in that division, you know, with the Lions and the Packers, don't know. Maybe the Bears become the second best team. And even with the Vikings, we don't know how long, this type of play from the Vikings will even last. So uh, I'm intrigued by their near future. Let's see who we got next. The Panthers. I mean, is there no reason not to put them here with the rest of their division? No. Do you believe in Sam Darnold finally figuring it out? Probably not. They have Sam Wilkes as their coach. Do you think he's coming back? Probably not. So I feel like they'll just be a team in a prolonged transition next season. So I can't really put them here because I'm not optimistic even looking at next year. The Giants I'll put here, but another team with some intriguing questions. Now Dayball, you gotta give him a lot of credit. He's kept the Giants in the playoff race this season, even though they're missing a lot in terms of wide receivers, a tight end, basically anything offensively outside of Saquon Barkley, and that's because of injuries or whatever. But I wonder what they do next season, and if they decide to bring back Daniel Jones, can Dayball continue the work on the foundation that he laid this season, where we've seen Daniel Jones like severely limit his turnovers and all that, which I think has been a major impact into why the Giants this late into the season are within the playoff race. So I think Dayball's doing some great things there. They're a few pieces away, but I can't. I'm I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the same position again next season. So we'll leave them fringe playoff team. Let me see. The Jets. I feel like I got to put them here as well. We'll have to see because this is going to be an important stretch for Zach Wilson. I believe he's back as the starter, and he came into the season hurt, got his shot. Had that little issue with the media after a game. Well, it was after the Patriots game that they lost 10-3. Then he lost his starting job. Mike White came on. Mike White got hurt. Now he's back. So these last few weeks, he could solidify himself as the rehabilitated man that I guess Saleh's looking for and becomes the leader that this team needs. Or he struggles again, shows he didn't really learn anything from his little break. The Jets maybe move on from him and they're going back into the well trying to find a new quarterback. But the defense is set. The defense alone makes them a playoff team with a question mark. If they get a quarterback in there who is reliable and all that, with Brees Hall coming back next season, they could very easily find themselves here. So right now, that's where the Jets stay. Steelers, maybe next year. They're technically still in the playoff race, which, just to let you know, I think 27 teams still have a legitimate shot at the playoffs. That's in quotes as well, because, like I said, these NFC South teams are technically still in a playoff race, but it's literally just for their uh, division, which lets you know how bad that division is. But we'll get into that a little bit later as we get to this team waiting. But the Steelers, looks like they have their guy in Kenny Pickett. I feel like Kenny Pickett will be much better next season. Probably could use the services of a wide receiver or two, maybe. But what Tomlin has shown in Pittsburgh, that he and his staff or whatever can put together competitive teams. I mean, in that division, you're dealing with the Bengals and the Ravens. It's going to be tough, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Steelers right back in the mix again next season. And to be honest with you, do they have a slim chance of the playoffs this season? Yeah, probably paper thin. And for that, you got to give them a lot of credit. So I'll put them next season. All right, the Cowboys will be the first thing I put here. They're a playoff team. They are what they are. I wouldn't put them as a Super Bowl contender. I have too many questions about Dak and his recent play where he just doesn't look right. Defensively, I think they're fine. I think they're good enough to make a Super Bowl appearance. It's just Dak is a really, really big question mark for me. But there's definitely enough talent on that team for that they'll be a solidified playoff team. It's just that they're going to be kind of stuck in limbo because they're not a fringe team, of course, but they're not Super Bowl contenders. They're just a solid playoff team. Bengals, I'm putting them up here as well. I'm a big Joe Burrow guy. So I guess also let you know I am a Patriots fan, which I probably would have said once I got here, but yeah, big Burrow guy. Love Jamar. Love the trio of Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. I think Hayden Hurst at tight end works really well. But for them, Joe Mixon is going to be the key for me. If they can establish Joe Mixon, get like a solid, I don't know, even like 80, 85 yards on the ground for Joe Mixon, I think it unlocks so much potential for this Bengals team that I really do think. Last season they got to the Super Bowl. They lost. Most teams like that fall completely off. The Bengals had their little downturn middle of the season, but since Chase and Mixon have come back, they really turned it on. And I think, for teams like Kansas City, the Bengals are a dangerous team. Go into Arrowhead. The Bengals have enough talent to win that game, so because of that, I'd have to put them Super Bowl or bust. Niners. This is an interesting one. I'm going to put them here. If you've been I guess tuning into any of the shows that I do on Sports Empire Network, Big Three Podcasts, or Pregame Pigskin. I've been talking about the Niners for several weeks now. The defense alone, which I kind of said the same thing with the Cowboys, but I think the Niners defense is even better. Offensively, they have plenty of weapons. It's just they have questions at the quarterback position. I think with Brock Purdy, who's the quarterback right now, with Garoppolo possibly being able to come back later into the playoffs, but if Brock Purdy can kind of take care of the ball, hand it off to McCaffrey, make the right throws, be accurate, get the ball into the hands of Ayuk or Samuel or whoever, I think the Niners are still good enough to make a Super Bowl run. Bills, I'll put them up here. I mean, they have Josh Allen, they have Stephon Diggs. Their defense is starting to get some pieces back. They got Tre'Davious White back a couple weeks ago. So I think the elements are there for Buffalo to be a Super Bowl contender this season. There were a few games in there where Josh Allen was a little bit too careless with the football, and I think that could be maybe an Achilles heel for this team. But they're definitely Super Bowl worthy, so I'll put them up there. All right, the Commanders, fringe playoff team. They'll probably have to really make a decision this offseason about the quarterback position. Do they go back to Carson Wentz? Do they stick it out with Taylor Heineke and I guess improve in other areas around them? Hopefully they can get Chase Young back and he has a somewhat healthy season next year. Also, they get him back this year and he can stay on the field for these last few weeks. I think that'll be big for them. But yeah, I have them on the fringe. The Cardinals, I'll put them maybe next year. The talent's there, but I think there's serious questions with Kingsbury. In the way that this season's gone, I feel like Kingsbury will. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of clamoring from Cardinals fans for Kingsbury to go. I just don't know how realistic that is right now. But I think with a different guy at the helm in Arizona, with the talent that's there, the Cardinals should very easily be up in this category. But with the way the team's going right now, they would probably end up down here. But I'm optimistic with the pieces they have. They need a coach who can challenge Kyler Murray. That's going to be the biggest thing. Fringe playoff team for the Titans. They're Derrick Henry dependent. Derrick Henry's getting older. I'm assuming Malik Willis is going to be their quarterback of the future. So how good is he actually? I don't know. But I think they're still, and I'm a big believer in Mike Vrabel, so I would probably always keep them on the fringe because I think Vrabel, just with his presence and demeanor, will always have this team competing for a playoff spot. So because of that, I'll put them as a fringe. I think the Chargers are a very talented team. Herbert and those guys have come on late, especially with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen coming back. They're another team who could probably benefit from a coaching change. I think Brandon Staley is not the right guy there. But even with all that in place, the Chargers are sitting at 8-6 right now. Could very easily get to 10, 11 wins at the end of the year. Now, are they a Super Bowl contender? I think on paper, yes. But with Staley and the questions that come with him in terms of his game plan or whatever, I would just have them as a solid playoff team right now. Same here. Vikings, solid playoff team. Now, once we get to the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of talk about primetime Kirk Cousins. And that's something that he and this team's going to have to get over before anybody, not just myself, would even think about putting them here. But once again, if you look at it, if Kirk Cousins is going right and he overcomes the primetime jinx that he's had on himself throughout his whole career, On paper, yeah, this team is talented enough to be up here. But for right now, I can't put them any higher than solid playoff team. Colts need help. They need to figure out their quarterback position. They are now turning to Nick Foles, I believe, which I honestly forgot Nick Foles was on the Colts. But Nick Foles, there's questions with Jim Irsay, the whole Jeff Saturday thing. We'll have to see in the offseason who becomes the next guy because I'd be shocked if Jeff Saturday is the coach next season. What candidates are up for the job? I think people will be looking at that very closely. Yeah, I don't know, man. Indianapolis is kind of at an interesting crossroad right now for the direction that they'll be going in. So they need help. Seahawks, one of the surprises of this season, they came into the year where a lot of people thought, oh, maybe 3, 4 wins if they're lucky. But Pete Carroll, along with Geno Smith, who's revitalized his career, has them at 7-7. They still have a legitimate shot of getting into the playoffs. They've taken kind of a little dip here the past couple of weeks, but they played the Chiefs last week. They have the Niners. No, they played the Niners last week. They have the Chiefs this week. Another tough game. But if the Seahawks were to somehow beat the Chiefs, then I think the momentum will be on their side that they make the playoffs. But right now, they are a fringe team. My Patriots, I gotta be honest with you, they're a fringe playoff team. I mean, even with this tier list, they disrespected them enough that they don't even show the full face on the logo. I mean, it is what it is. But seriously, the Patriots, to be honest with you, they can fix their team with probably one simple move. Replace Matt Patricia at offensive coordinator, bring in a guy, I don't know who, like Bill O'Brien or I don't know, whatever names that are out there. I don't know, maybe Kingsbury. Maybe Kingsbury's nothing more than a coordinator. He's just not a head coach. Would he work? I mean, he did play in he was on their team. He didn't really play, but would he go back to New England to be the offensive coordinator under Bill Belichick? I don't know, but that's number one priority. Number two, they have some issues with the offensive line. Got to get that fixed. Mac Jones, I know a lot of people are talking about him and whether he's good enough. I I can't really evaluate him this year because the offensive game plan has just been so bad. I don't know who would really succeed in this offense. So I'm still a Mac guy. So I have them as a fringe playoff team. But if they fix the offensive line, get a real offensive coordinator with the defense that they have, Matt Judon, Josh Uche, who's been a pleasant surprise. Seems like he's finally figured it out. They would easily be up here. The Raiders, maybe next year. They've come on late, but we'll have to see if they can ride that into next season. But ultimately, it's been kind of a disappointing year in Vegas. They brought in Devontae Adams, and a lot of people thought that was gonna be the move that would get them, if not the AFC West division crown, but an actual playoff run. For whatever reason, whether it was injuries to the wrong people here and there throughout the year, or I don't know, McDaniels, because I know a lot of people after the Denver run he had as a head coach, then almost become the Colts coach. I think there's a lot of questions about his ability to coach a team. So I do think he sticks around. I don't see the Raiders firing him or anything like that. But he may have a short leash going into next season. So I wouldn't put them here because they have talent, but next year is going to be an important year for them. Ravens, I mean, without Lamar, they're here. with Lamar, they might even still be here, but I'll put them there because at least Lamar, with the ability to run, brings that element. Now, their passing game, it is horrid. Their game plan in general offensively, I think, is horrid. Their defense, to be honest with you, I think is a little bit overrated because I keep saying that you can throw on that defense. Marlon Humphrey gets a lot of publicity from like a couple of years ago when he was like the punch king, where if you were running and you got stacked up, Marlon Humphrey would come in and punch the ball loose and cause fumble, whatever. But between he, Marcus Peters, and guys like that, I feel like if you have a good group of wide receivers, you can burn those guys. Now, where they shine is against quarterbacks who stink or against wide receivers that aren't that good. Then they look great. But I think you go up against a competent quarterback, good wide receivers, you can get yards on this Ravens team. Green Bay is no, that's clearly a mistake. Fringe playoff team. I if it was me, I would look to move on from Aaron Rodgers. I just don't know. I don't think at this point in Aaron Rodgers' career, with the pieces in Green Bay, with all of that, I just don't know if he ever gets them where there's a solid, right in and pen playoff team to go into a season, or even up here. I think this is a pipe dream. So I think they need to reload a little bit. I don't know if I would say like rebuild, but yeah, they're just not worth trusting to be up here. So I got them as a fringe team. The Bucks are intriguing because they're what 6-8, not great. I'm gonna put them here, and just listen to this why. Look at the team. You got Fournette, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Now the offensive line, that's gonna be a problem for the Bucks against some of these other teams. Michael Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence. This entire defense, yeah, but they're gonna struggle. But looking at where the Bucks, if they get in, being a 4 seed, you know, you have Brady, who we know if you count him out, he figures out ways to overcome, and his their path to a Super Bowl if they get in as a 4 seed isn't it's not crazy because they'd get what the Cowboys first. You trust the Cowboys fully in the playoffs? No. Okay, so let's say the Bucks move on there. You get a Jalen Hurts led Eagles team as they're the number 1 seed. I think there's going to be questions about the Eagles in terms of what they look like being a favorite going into the playoffs with a young group. Does that weigh on them and they underperform? If they do, Tom Brady will take advantage of that. And then you could possibly be looking at a NFC title game against what? Kirk Cousins? So just for the simple fact that they get in, Brady could make some noise. I got him as a playoff team. I think realistically, they probably should be here. Like I said, with the rest of their division, because their whole division, to be honest with you, it is the worst. Probably one of the worst divisions I remember in my recent history. I mean, some of you may remember like way back in the day, but for me, just sitting here recording this, I honestly cannot remember a division that looked this bad. Yeah, just a weird year. All right, Eagles. Yeah, If you're the number one seed in your conference, you gotta be a Super Bowl or bust type of team. Now these, I guess, next couple of weeks with this Hurts injury, however severe you think it really is, it's going to be interesting because right now they're holding on to the one seed, but you have the Niners, you have the Vikings, who could all, I guess, pass them. If the Eagles were to lose out or anything like that, but yeah, I like the makeup of the team. Defensively they're good. Offensively with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, they have Miles Sanders in the running game. So I definitely think that they're a legitimate threat. The Browns, I'm gonna put them here, and for the sole reason of Deshaun Watson, he has not looked good so far, but he hadn't played in 2 years. So what do you think he's gonna look like in the first couple of weeks? I want to see what he looks like with an off season, you know, OTA, all that whole process, getting in there, getting his body back in shape, building a connection with his receivers and all that. Browns could be an interesting team next year. So with that, I've got them right there. Maybe next year. The Rams, how the mighty have fallen. Win the Super Bowl last year, and now you probably are just a 3-win team this year. Once again, I honestly cannot remember a severe of drop for a team just like the Rams have had this year. And going into next year, Matt Stafford may have to retire. Anytime I hear spinal cord bruise, neck surgery, that kind of stuff, I just can't be optimistic that you're going to come back and play at any level that can bring this team out of this group back to here where they were last year at the end of the season. So, yeah, Aaron Donald could retire. That team could look drastically different even next season. And yeah, I just don't have any certainties with that team. That and with no like first round pick for the next few years, yeah, that they need some help. The Broncos. I was a big fan of the Broncos going into the year. All right, so I'm gonna let you know. I believe my Super Bowl pick from the offseason were the old Broncos. So imagine how that looks right now. But I'm gonna put them here. As crazy as it is, the the whole Russell Wilson experiment was laughable all season. But in that game he got hurt against the Chiefs with the concussion and all that, he was actually playing well. And I think that's the frustrating thing about it is why did it take so long for them to figure it out? I'll tell you why. Nathaniel Hackett, not the right guy, wasn't the right guy, definitely should not be back next year. So you take Nathaniel Hackett away. Hopefully they make the right decision in a coaching hire. Do they find a way to get Bieniemy away from the Chiefs? I don't know. How about a Byron Leftwich from Tampa Bay? I mean, I guess this season may not look great on Leftwich, but can you really put that on Leftwich when the offensive line's been so bad? I can't think of any other guys right now, but they bring in the right coach there. The defense is still good. Put in a game plan that fits Russell Wilson's skill set, and I think the Broncos are up here next year. So there you are. That is my tier list. Like I said, let me know what you think. I'll try to see where might there be some controversy in terms of you guys in the comments. I don't know, maybe this team, maybe even this one, the Packers, these two. I don't know. Maybe this one. So let me know where you think I went wrong with any team or teams, and let me know what category you'd put them in. But take this off. So, yeah, so appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully, you enjoy this episode. Like I said, I'm gonna keep doing these tier lists, have a lot of fun with them. Actually, we'll probably be giving you another episode today with another tier list. I'm not sure which one. I got a couple in my head that I might go with. I might go with an NBA themed one for the next one. But before I get out of here, just to remind you guys that you can check me out on Sports Empire Network. Now, normally Tuesdays and Thursdays with the Big Three podcast and Pre-Gaming Pigskin. But now I'm on their Monday nights for the Cheap Seats podcast. If you did not check out the first episode we did this past Monday, guarantee you go back and watch it. It was a really good show. It's a show where we just kind of get together, have those conversations that you would probably normally have with your friends, family, and just talking like, who would you take this guy over that guy? Who's the best so and so in this league? So it's a really good show. Make sure you go back and check it out. And then that show's at 7 o'clock as well. So Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from now on, 7 o'clock, I'll be over there. Yeah, check us out: Facebook, YouTube, TikiLive.com, and Twitter. Definitely would have a lot of have some good times over there. And then Friday nights, for right now, we're thinking about adding a second night of the week. Catch me on the JJL Sports Talk Show with my boy Jordan from the Big Three podcast. We are live on YouTube and Facebook, and then after that, all the Spotify and all that for the audio people. It's available like an hour or so after. But yeah, when I'm not on my channel, chopping at the bit, of course, that's where you can find me. But yeah, appreciate it. Like I said, hopefully you're enjoying this week leading up to Christmas, and hopefully you have a really, really great Christmas. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that good stuff. And yeah, I'll catch you next episode. All right, have a good one.